There's no place to hide down here. No place to hide down here. Went to the rock, got on my knees. I heard the angels weep for me. No place to hide down here.
This is Larry Connors USA. Larry Connors USA.
A year ago, we were hit with a virus that was met with silence and spread unchecked. Denials for days, weeks, then months. That led to more deaths, more infections, more stress, and more loneliness. 2 months ago, this country didn't have nearly enough vaccine supply to vaccinate all or ever near all of the American public. But soon we will.
Soon we will, as he stumbles over the last words. It's another part of the Biden lie at this point. But he got all the cameras on him. The network's covering it, of course, because they want to make sure you know what's happening with the president when it's Biden and dealing with COVID. And he preached the best preach he could, saying, we're getting control of this, we're going to do it better. Warned we might have to reinstate restrictions, kind of set that in motion just as a possibility. But again, if you listen to him, that opening statement, we've been doing nothing about COVID until he came in the office just 2 months ago. You know better. Most of us know better. Even the Dems know better, but let's just skip the facts. Let's go with the narrative that Joe's pushing. Here's another part of the lie from last night.
We've been working with vaccine manufacturers, Pfizer, Moderna, Johnson & Johnson, to manufacture and purchase hundreds of millions of doses of these 3 safe, effective vaccines. Now, because of all the work we've done, we'll have enough vaccine supply for all adults in America by the end of May.
All the work we've done, which means getting those vaccines to market and availability quickly, you would think that had to probably be some kind of warp speed project. Well, by God, it was a warp speed project from Trump. Said, I want warp speed to get these vaccines out. I'm encouraging these companies. Let's move forward. We're going to cut the red tape. Red tape, which normally the Democrats love, is going to jumble, tie things up. Maybe you can buy your way out. Trump said, forward. That's why we had the vaccines we do now. So when you hear Joe say, we're going to order more, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, well, you wouldn't even have the darn things if it weren't for Trump pushing earlier that we've got to have warp speed process. The guy at this point and the party, they still are trying to find some way that if there's any problem with anything referenced COVID, it has to fall on Trump's shoulders. Have you heard Biden say anything at all about Governor Cuomo sending elderly people to death row, basically, putting them back in nursing homes? No, you have not, and you will not. He hasn't even commented on the sex charges against him, against Cuomo. Neither has the VP, of course. She's all about protecting women, but she won't say anything. And they hope that you'll just focus on what they are doing with COVID and look at it as this is groundbreaking, this is amazing. Well, let's get a reality check from former White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows.
Obviously, we saw Joe Biden trying not only to take credit from Donald Trump, which is really interesting because Joe Biden actually got the vaccine. He got a shot in the arm before Donald Trump left office. And so when we look at what was created, the Trump administration worked with warp speed, creating not only a vaccine, but vaccines for millions of people in less than 9 months.
Less than 9 months. Joe Biden didn't bother mentioning that, did he? Because it's contrary to their narrative. You'd have to bring in and give some kind of credit to Donald Trump or the previous administration, and no way in hell do they want to do that. But, of course, as we expected, this speech was just applauded all around the liberal circles. And I cannot, I know you don't want to watch Rachel Maddow on MSNBC. I don't either, but I have to do it sometimes for you. I take the bullet for you. I go and do stuff like that for you so you can hear what she had to say, because it's just saccharine. I mean, saccharine sweet, sticky sweet. Here's Rachel Maddow comparing how Biden handled himself versus you-know-who.
It's a different type of man serving as president with a different idea of leadership and a different idea of success. I mean, whatever you think about President Trump, I think it's fair to characterize his public pronouncements on COVID as being about himself, about things that he did and how he was taking care of it. And that he wanted you to believe that it was over because he was in charge. And obviously he would be the one who would fix this. Instead, what we got from President Biden tonight was, I need your help. I need your help. I need your help. I need you to listen to Dr. Fauci. I need you to get vaccinated. I need you to know exactly how this is going to work, and that if things go badly, we are going to have to reinstate restrictions. He's asking for a whole of government and a whole of country response, rather than talking about what he's done.
But she's wrong. Biden was talking about what he's done and said we're all in this together and we're going to kind of go. Trump said the same thing. And Trump also actually did get something done. Say, I have initiated to move forward and do this. Biden walked around the same line. Everything that's going good now is because Biden is in office. That's the storyline. So it is still all about me. And, of course, Biden reached a point where he got so melodramatic, so emotional, so wrapped in the grief and the hurt and the pain that's been with COVID. And it's been real. It's been real for many people. But I watched this part of the speech, and I got to tell you, I thought, you're preying on the emotions of those who have suffered and are suffering. And again, it's for Biden and to make him look special. Despite what Rachel Maddow just said, Biden was doing what she accused Trump of. It is all about him because he is a fatherly figure, the grandfather figure who is going to comfort you when everyone else abandons you. And Joe Biden again last night in his most emotional tone and approach.
You lost your job. You closed your business. Facing eviction, homelessness, hunger, a loss of control, maybe worst of all, a loss of hope. Watching a generation of children who may be set back up to a year or more because they've not been in school because of their loss of learning.
And I have a question there, Joe. Why are they not back in school? The CDC said they could go back to school months ago. Many schools have been in progress across the nation for months. Major blue city schools are not in because they have teachers' unions insisting on things like in Chicago, we want rent abatements before we go back. Has nothing to do with COVID. And he continues to bow down to the labor unions because he needs and wants their support and vote. So when you hear him talk about these poor kids and that they've lost their time and learning and so forth, it's not his fault. It's COVID. No, it's not COVID either because CDC said you could go back. It is the fault of the unions, Joe, the fault of the unions and selfish teachers. Good teachers, those who care about the students, they wanted to go back for some time. But again, as he talks about what he's trying to do and how important things are, and he recognizes your pain, man. Rachel Maddow says again, I just want to hug him because he is just so touching to my heart.
I think it was very moving. The president is very good at articulating empathy, which has been said a million times. But these are the kinds of times when that becomes something that is incredibly utile for us as a country. I think when he said we're coming through it, I don't know if he meant that to be the headline for this speech. I don't know if that was an ad-lib line or prepared line. But that's, to me, what I took away. He's not saying it's all roses. We're done. It's all better. I thought it was really important when he talked about that July 4th goal and then said, but you know what? This is just a goal, and we may need to reinstate restrictions if things go pear-shaped, basically. That was a really important sort of moment of honesty rather than just shine on what was otherwise him telling us that things are getting better.
No, it was not a moment like that. It was a bailout plan that we can suddenly jump ship and call it all back. He said last night we can get everybody vaccinated by May, every adult, and we should be able to have July 4th. But then again, you might need to limit who you are with on July 4th. Our Independence Day, he's going to tell you who you can have at your house or where you can go on Independence Day. They did it on Christmas, they did it on Thanksgiving, and they're going to do it right now on July 4th. You talk about the irony of Independence Day for this country. And, of course, along with the rest of the liberals, you got the Hollywood celebrities coming forward, fawning over Joe. I mean, just one of them wrote, he's kicking ass. That's her phrase. Who is that star? That's a Kristen Johnston who said that. And then Rob Reiner, of course, who I could really give a rip about. But Rob Reiner was meathead and Archie Bunker, who now is a really concerned liberal about the future. You know, why haven't they canceled Reiner? Why hasn't Hollywood jumped on him because of his attitude and appearing in the Archie Bunker show? Such a racist stereotype program. No. That's what past that we were going to leave the past. Everybody else's past is exposed and open for criticism. But Rob Reiner said, thank God we have a real president. It makes you cry. Oh, here's another one. It's so nice to have an empathy said, instead of a psychopath. Another one. Thank you, Joe Biden, for being a POTUS who sees us as Americans instead of scapegoats. I'm looking through these comments, and I tell you, I'm surprised my computer isn't shutting down because it got too much sugar in it. Nancy Sinatra, we are so blessed to have Joe Biden as our president. Great job, voters. Later, she said, I can't stop crying. Well, again, let's get a reality check from Kevin McCarthy and his view of Biden in that speech.
He also said when he got into office that they didn't have the vaccine until he came in, even though he was already vaccinated. Let's give credit where credit is due, because it is the American ingenuity that came together, that we had a virus hit us from China, that we came together and made vaccines. Now there's 3 out there that's already approved. So we're producing more than 2 million a day into people's arms. I say every American that wants the vaccine should get it. But also, every American should be able to go back to work, back to school, and back to health.
And speaking about back to school, by the way, you heard Joe a moment ago, President Biden, lamenting the fact that the nation's children have been out of school for the entire year. And that's not true, as I said. There are many that have been in school. But he's been helping the labor unions hold the line and standing with the teachers. That's why many of those kids aren't back in there. And every time they tell us to follow the science, they choose which science they're going to follow. When the CDC said accumulating data shows there's not a lot of transmission that's happening in schools, when proper mitigation measures are taken, when there's masking, when there's distancing, things of that nature. Well, of course, that's what they're trying to say. Well, we don't have all of that right yet, so we can't let the kids go back. White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki says that Biden's campaign promise to get the majority of schools open in the first 100 days of his administration for in-person learning was at least one day a week. So if we can get that, we're going to be good. No, you're not. And the secrets inside that COVID bill, the more you look at it, the nastier it looks and wasteful it looks. Stand by.
You can connect with Larry on Twitter @LarryConnorsUSA.